I will go ahead and call this meeting to order dated Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. It is 6:31. Roll call, please.
Trustee Black.
Here.
Trustee Dallison.
Here.
Trustee Joswick.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee Politis.
Here.
Trustee Cesaro. Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
All right, if everybody would like to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, does the board have any conflicts of interest they would like to announce at this time? Trustee Moreland and I will be recusing ourselves for 6A agenda item.
And the reason that is because you
We both serve on the
Chamber
Chamber of Commerce.
as well as town. board.
Correct.
And this is an item for both the chamber and the town board. And yep, it
Correct,
sounds
yes.
appropriate.
Anybody else?
No.
All right, moving on. Do we have any general public input from the community? You'd like to have anything you'd like to share with the board? All right. Moving on. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes dated May 18th.
How about
I'll
that
second.
agenda?
Agenda.
Agenda. I'll second the agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, did everybody get to look at the minutes from May 18th, 2021?
I would
Madam
move-
Mayor,
Go ahead, please.
again. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes dated May 18th, 2021.
Second.
All right, any discussion from the board? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to department reports. Jeremy, do you have anything you would like to add to your report?
I don't have anything to add. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board have any questions for Jeremy?
Where was the water line break? LaPlade's water line break.
Oh, we don't know where that was out in the county.
Oh, it was somewhere out in the county.
Yeah.
It-
So I'd like to make just a reminder to speak into the
Oh.
mic, because we are being recorded and YouTube, you can't pick it up.
So, yeah, the water line break was in the county. We're not exactly sure where. It occurred between 12 and 3 a.m. And obviously it was a main break because it did
Right.
cause the tanks to drain.
Is there some kind of mechanism that you can put on the flow or a flow meter so that you guys know that water is running uncontrollably down that line?
Yeah,
So that in that event, you guys could shut it off so that we don't end up draining a tank?
Well, it's just unfortunate events. It did call out for low level in the tanks. It called our operators. By the time the plant operators had got in, it looked like LaPlade had it under control and shut off. And so it just took us some time to make up the storage capacity.
Okay.
Just all that went through their meter, so big water sales day for the town.
Any other questions for Jeremy?
Approximate ETA that the water meter's going to be moved in front of my house or Church Street?
Well, at this point in time, the water meters that we are moving, we're relocating them from underneath structures. So yours is not necessarily underneath the structure, so it doesn't necessarily fit into the scope of the project we're working on right now.
My mistake. I thought you told me mine was going to be moved.
All right, moving on to Marshall's report. Joe, do you have anything to add to your report?
No, I don't.
Does the board have any questions for Joe? All right, Town Manager Katie, do you have any updates on your report?
So I don't have any updates. I just want to make sure that you have the memo from La Plata County Human Services regarding the potential that quitclaim deed to the town, removing the restriction. Obviously, I think that needs to be a conversation with the board, with the staff, and also with the senior citizens and the senior board as well. To determine, I think there's been some uses of the center that would like to increase, including using the commercial kitchen, whether it's for an incubator or for other economic development needs. I was surprised that they had not read the deed nor the IGA. Obviously, it's a little bit older, and there's some fairly new staff. The addition that they continued to tell us that we could only have grab and go, and that they were not allowed to congregate or eat the meals in the senior center. That has changed. I'm going to call it a grab and gobble, because they can pick it up and they can eat it in the senior center. But that will be 11:30 to 12. We'll certainly be there until they leave. But I am asking, I have talked to or left an email for the senior board or the members, which would be the president, I'm just assuming the treasurer of the senior board, and then Phyllis Ludwig, regarding, I would really like to talk about what the operations are going to be at the senior center. I think that the pandemic it was unfortunate, and it was most unfortunate to those in senior citizen age. However, I also think it's important that we've made some changes here that were beneficial to operations. It's also, I think, time to find out really what they want, what they really need, and determine what their uses of the senior center could be. I think it's also important that they have some say in what they would like to have what programs they would have versus making things up. I would like to have a veterans or a hero ball on Veterans Day, which is on a Thursday, the 11th of November. I think it's really important to honor our veterans, and we call it a heroes ball, and make sure that all the veterans are offered a free invitation to that. But I think that it's important to have that conversation. We did receive an application for use of the center on Tuesdays, actually today. And then I would like to talk about the Wednesdays and Friday use of the center as well. So just kind of to make sure that you're aware that I would like that conversation. I think that I understand that change is tough, but I also think it's a good time to have that conversation about the needs and where we need staffing and where we don't need staffing at the senior center. So.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, moving on to Beth, your report. Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I do not.
Board have any questions for Beth? All right, moving on to our financial agenda items. Sales tax. That is in your report.
The sales tax is very strong to date. Up to the end of May, your sales tax revenue is up $143,506 from 2020 to 2021. As I've made you aware that I made some graphs and charts and Excel spreadsheets so that we could actually give you an idea what those categories are, and that's just gone. So we're going to have to recreate those, and of course there's a lot of catch up and a lot of things we're doing, so hopefully we get that together.
Okay, moving on to the April disbursements. Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the April disbursements.
I would second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to our finance director and staff reorganization.
So I've given you a couple pages to consider a reorganization, promote from within. When I was first started here, you had a consultant finance director, then we hired an employee finance director. It's been just a couple short years where we've lost an employee, a consultant, and another employee as finance director. And I think that's one thing the citizens expect you to do right, is figure out what to do with your finances and how to manage them. So I think that this is a probationary period where we would start this week and end towards the end of August. And if we feel like there's need to be changes, even along the way, we'll let you know that. So I have some authority to make these changes. However, to appoint a deputy town clerk and a deputy treasurer, that's under the authority of the board. I do feel it would be important to hire a CPA, even just for a couple hours a week or whatever, till we feel comfortable that your current town clerk and current treasurer actually is comfortable with some of the requirements that may involve a CPA. But that's not up for your decision today. I'm just looking for a thumbs up to go for this direction,
Yes.
unless there's more conversation.
Everybody,
Yeah,
Got my thumbs up.
I'm okay with this. I mean, I like the idea of hiring from within to the extent that everybody gets more familiar with the process. So you don't ever have somebody just come in and they're cold off the street.
all right. Any further discussion on that? All right, in honor of Alzheimer's Awareness Month, I would like to read a proclamation. Whereas Alzheimer's disease, a progressive neurodegenerative brain disorder, tragically robs individuals of their memories and leads to progressive mental and physical impairments. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States and the 6th leading cause of death in Colorado. And whereas more than 6.2 million people in the United States are living with Alzheimer's, including 76,000 in Colorado. And whereas there are over 158,000 dedicated caregivers who provide unpaid care at home in our state of Colorado, valued at over $3.7 billion. And whereas with early detection and diagnosis, individuals and their families can gain access to treatment medications, enroll in critical research trials, fully participate in planning for the future, and receive help and support from the Alzheimer's Association. And whereas there is a need to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease and to honor all the caregivers who support and care for loved ones with the disease. Now therefore, I do hereby proclaim June 2021 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month in Bayfield, and do commend this observance to all of their citizens to join in honoring all Bayfield families affected by Alzheimer's disease. All right. Do we have any general public input pertaining to agenda item 5A? Seeing none, we will move on to our substitute water plan 2021.
So actually, when I was putting the agenda together, we got approved. I got that letter, so you have that in your packet as well. The substitute water plan is based on the water court process for those water shares. But we are in a drought. We are kind of balanced between severe and extreme drought on the dark red or the red. So we are happy that we were approved for the substitute water supply plan.
All right, any questions from the board? No action is necessary. All right, do we have any general public input pertaining to agenda items 6A or B on the agenda? Seeing none, Brenna and I will go ahead and recuse ourselves.
All right, so our next agenda item is a mural proposal, an increase of $1,320 possible to our budget, here to discuss tonight. Katie.
Yes, especially during the pandemic, obviously social media was pretty popular. And there's actually quite a few murals I saw were on social media. Bayfield does not have a mural in town. So this would be a way to have people photograph and become Bayfield. I always say that Bayfield can become the commercial center of La Plata County. And I think that, that this mural would be a great tourist stop place. It's in a downtown area. You get them to stop on Mill Street, get them to stop and eat. I think a mural is just a great way to recognize our town as well and our history.
And you say this is cost share?
This is half. The full amount is $2,640. This is 50% of the share. The Bayfield Chamber, the members that just left, that recused themselves, are actually on the chamber as well. So this would be the 50% of the cost of the mural.
And where would this come out of our budget?
That's correct.
Where would it come out?
It comes out of the general fund, in basically part of our publishing and economic development.
What do you think?
I have a couple of questions. I love this idea, and I'm 110% on board. But did we know that there is an actual, like, Local First has an artist-supported mural program that they do? And they're the ones who do them all over Durango. And they actually pay the artists a living wage to do the murals in town. And it's, you know, a young woman who's in charge of that aspect of Local First. You know, as a graduate of Fort Lewis College from the arts program, she's an amazing young woman. And I was hoping we could, I'm stoked to see this estimate here, but I don't know who Monica Louise is. And I wonder if we've checked into doing the Local First mural project.
I'll be more than happy to check into it. We have a meeting in 2 weeks that gives us some chance to
Awesome.
look into that.
Oh, good. Yes, please.
Monica Louise has been the muralist for the Local First projects. So she has done the one on the back of Krager's that was done. And she
Yeah.
also did the one on North Main that is of a similar style, sort of this old school postcard. So
I love that one.
I
Yeah.
follow her on Instagram. She has real cred. So,
That-
and she was part of the Local First, I think she was one of their first muralists.
Just wanted to make sure she was local and that we were giving our nod to Local First if we could. Good to know that has been part of that organization or still is. That's great. And then just kind of going over and looking at the actual image itself. And pardon me if my vision isn't great. I feel like it's a little fuzzy, but I also have an appointment with the eye doctor in 2 days. So is there a nod to our native or indigenous heritage in there?
I think that's a good catch.
If you look at the A,
The A has the sheep.
Well, the A is the sheep.
I'm like, A is the
It's
sheep.
the sheep,
sheep.
and I love the sheep, and I think that we need to stick with our Scotch-Irish, you know, sheep heritage. I love it. I think that it needs to be there, but I can't tell what the L is, or maybe the I. Maybe I just
The I looks like the Eagles, right? Eagles at Eagle Park.
at Eagle Park. Okay,
L,
okay.
L is the one I'm having a trouble with too.
I just wanted.
I know I have a clearer picture of this somewhere too.
I totally thought it was a llama.
Let's see if I can find
So
this picture
again,
of it.
110% on board with the idea, but I just want to kind of make sure that we're being as inclusive as
So
possible.
the L looks like a river. It looks like a river's running through it. So I kind of feel like L might be a possibility to put something in there,
Sure.
maybe an addition.
Okay, I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, let's want to make sure we have another dugout as well, so we figure out what we do with one, and if we go and do another one, that way we make sure we at least get, but I appreciate getting our native heritage.
And I do love the big empty wall on the Heritage Center. Just kind of putting that out there, that wall drives me bananas, and I think it would be an amazing space in this town for some kind of a mural. Yeah. I've talked to Tirza about it, if you guys know Tirza Comancho. I've kind of mentioned some things to her, but again, she's not local first, but she is really, involved in our local heritage. So just putting those ideas out there. But I love this. I'm so glad it's happening. Or
Awesome.
hopefully it's happening. We'll see.
See how it goes.
So would it be your preference to table this?
I would just table it. In fact, I would prefer a table so that
Yeah, we
that's
can
what
work
sends
out.
it back to the next agenda.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we table this proposal
Second.
till the next agenda item,
Oh,
or next
excuse me,
agenda,
I
or
guess we
next
can make a
meeting,
motion.
excuse me.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a vote.
Trustee Black.
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Dowison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
And Trustee Politis.
Yes.
All in favor.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 6B, La Plata County Communities Floodplain Mapping Update.
So I did put the Zoom link on the notes and recommendations that I gave to the Board of Trustees. I really recommend that you attend this Zoom meeting. And the reason is because that La Plata County Bayfield would have had our own public hearing, Ignacio could have had their own public hearing, and La Plata County would have their own. Very honestly, I kind of think this is more, from the county's point of view, and Bayfield and Ignacio are both participating with La Plata County instead of having an individual one, which will have all the key players there at that meeting. So that will be posted so that you can attend. But I wanted to make sure that that you had that information. It'll be exciting.
Is there anybody that will be able to attend from the board?
I will not.
I will be at work both nights.
I think I can do Thursday.
I can probably, either one.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to our discussion portion of the evening. Item 7A. Where are we? All right, Katie, you want to?
Yeah, so we are having a kind of a public meeting. It'd be a work session, and on housing, specifically Cinnamon Heights, lots 12 through 41. You can call it 12 through 41, you can call it whatever, but I want to make sure that when we label it, it does not include the other lots or the other townhomes included in this. This is a plan for only these 30 lots. I'm looking for your input on what you would like to see. I'm collecting and directing people to get the resources that we need. I also provided the CML, Colorado Municipal League has done a lot on housing. Our nation's done a lot on housing. Our state's doing a lot on housing. Our county's doing a lot on housing. But we're looking for what you want to know. I would like to meet with Sunrise Estates and the HOA at Cinnamon Heights to find out about the irrigation water, because I understand that for whatever reason I have the request from the director of the HOA asked if, what can we do about the irrigation water? So I said, well, I don't know. I think that we have interest in making sure that we're using irrigation water for outdoor watering and not domestic watering. So that's important to us. So anyway, if you're looking for anything else, we want to make sure that this first discussion, we've at least gathered stuff. Even if we don't get to everything, at least we've gathered it and stuck it in one place.
Yeah, I may have an update too through the Alliance. They're putting together a playbook of sorts, so I'll see what they have. Our meeting's in 2 weeks.
And then the RHA is actually having a retreat, June 28th and 29th. And they would like to make sure there's an elected official from Ignacio, an elected official from Bayfield that attends with me. I'm actually on the board. Somehow I just got that when I was hired. Just want to see if there's somebody that it is an in-person meeting. So I will be fleeing from Durango back to our that Monday night on the 28th.
Is that either or is that both
It's
days?
both days.
I can probably do that if nobody else can, or if somebody else.
I would be interested in doing that, but we are going to have company that we
Okay.
have not seen for a long time.
Perfect.
I'd I'd be interested in doing it
Okay.
too.
Do you need just one, or the more the merrier?
First of all, you're all welcome to attend, and the public, but I think they would like to just recognize one of the elected officials from Bayfield, one from Ignacio, at this time. So.
All right, Kelly, if you want it, you can have it. You can.
Do it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will take it.
All right. Thank you.
I will pass on your information. They will send you the calendar invite.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments on that? Just if you have some things that come up between now and then, just, send an email, or you can direct that towards myself or Katie.
Just real quickly, specifically, what were the issues with the irrigation? Were they?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay.
Have to look
I'd be
into
interested to hear what happens with it.
All right, moving on to Dove Ranch detention.
So in your packet, I realized that I'm working, try to get a hold of Jim Corker regarding his property with Dove Ranch. But I also think it's important to have that bigger conversation about, who's going to fund this? Do we let every defunct HOA and every defunct development that, the town picks up and pays for? I realize that we have elected officials that live in Dove Ranch, but it's a bigger discussion. I wanted to have that discussion to determine, is this the time we start thinking of a stormwater property tax? There's two ways that you go about doing that. It's either on the value or on the property that is going to drain off. That gets a little more complicated and a little more difficult to determine. Or do we look for a special improvement district for Dove Ranch? Is that, I think I'm just throwing these things out to have this conversation. The board cannot, the town of Bayfield board cannot necessarily vote on having a special improvement district. They have to petition to be one, which is kind of the ballot that could be presented to only the owners in Dove Ranch or those affected. If somebody is improving property, whether it's the church property or the property that's east of town that belongs to the Bayfield, all of a sudden I forget the name of it. They would probably have to petition into this special district to help pay for it. So I'm going to leave the discussion up to you. I'm just throwing this out. I think this is appropriate time, and if that's not the direction the board would like to go, or even consider, that's something else. So.
Just historically, there was an HOA and then now there is not an HOA? Did they just disband, or?
Yes, they disbanded. After. I don't have all the history. There's about 6 inches of folders about the defunct Dove Ranch HOA. You have quite a few active HOAs that are taking care of their property. I get calls about, why don't you take care of that dead tree that's in the median? Why don't you pull the weeds in the median? And typically the HOA and many of the developments you have would take care of that.
Brennan and I have to go hang out in the hallway again. On
Yes,
this one.
I'm like,
So I mean, they disbanded the HOA, and then how much landed in the town's lap? Then to pick up what the HOA was doing? I assume that they were active at some point?
That may be a,
Only in the very beginning. The very beginning, they were active, and then the developers and the builders all started to go under, and then it just disbanded from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why can't we make them have an HOA?
you're gonna have to talk to your attorney on that one.
I'll get back to you on that. I do not like to give answers that are just off the cuff.
I understand, but surely
it's a
this
hard-
it can't be the only time this has ever happened on the planet, you know? Like, what do other people do when this, or what other communities do when HOAs disband? I mean, how are they even allowed to do that? They have to take care of their properties, right?
Well, there are lots of properties that are not guided by HOAs.
Yeah.
People prefer sometimes to be part of, or not part of any sort of community that is, got codes and
Sure.
demands a certain way in which you park your car and so forth. So, with that, yeah, I'll get back to you guys on what could be done to force the formation of an HOA.
So I'm gonna,
Such that the
Can-
we'd have to look at the declarations that were generally formed, that usually is the guide, for a community and how it's set up.
Because
Most of these-
Brenna had her hand up real quick.
No, I didn't. You didn't? No, I was saying I'm that person.
Oh, okay. I thought you were raising your hand.
I would say that most of these houses were bought and sold after the
Disbanding.
disbandment anyway, so
Yeah.
none of the new owners have agreed to any kind of HOA.
Correct.
They don't want an HOA from the
Correct.
people that I know, because I live in that neighborhood 3 blocks away, and I purposely picked my house to not have an HOA. So I know a lot of people that live in that neighborhood, and they don't want it. They want it gone. They're glad it's gone.
does your neighborhood have draining issues?
It's connected to the same system.
Yours flows
so,
down
Yeah,
and
it
then
flows.
down,
I'm
yeah.
like, it flows differently, but it flows over in the same direction. There's plenty of houses on Tamarack and up on the top of the hill that definitely drain into Dove Ranch. Definitely.
We need to have a discussion about drainage though, because I know Josh and I are more familiar with some of the places where water ends up that it shouldn't end up. And I know from my experience, I see it every time it rains and we don't have water in the ditches. I know where it ends up, because it ends up in my backyard.
Josh,
Because
you have
that's where all the water from the mini Merc and all that stuff ends up. So we need to have a serious discussion about stormwater and keeping it out of the ditches. And I know it's not just me, because Gerald Ludwig has the same concern.
you have a comment?
Yeah, Michael or Katie, could you explain real briefly what the process would be for, I know you said that it would require a petition to get this on a ballot, and then I assume that that petition would be presented to us and we would put it on the ballot?
If this is just for Dove Ranch, that's the petition into a special improvement district.
Specific to Dove Ranch?
If you want to petition into a district that's improving, paying money to actually construct a detention facility and then manage the facility somehow, then they would petition in. If you decide to make it town-wide and then you have a ballot initiative, I believe that it hasn't been that many years where you had a ballot initiative to raise sales tax for streets. It goes now specifically to streets. In this case, it'd be a ballot initiative, or referendum, I'm sorry. You have to make sure I know which one's which.
So I think it'd be an initiative.
Initiative, that you would have, you would send to the voters for a mill levy of some sort through a property tax, raised to start to manage stormwater. In some cases, and I have been looking at some of the law in it, and has experience with it, that some storm water districts have actually raised fees and been challenged because it's out of Tabor, and they've gained and lost in court, let's put it that way. So, going through the fee process, you're gonna have to be very careful how you manage it, and then that's based on the amount of property or area that's actually affecting, creating, it's running off. But
Well, and
it is a bigger conversation.
that's my question. I'm kind of hearing there's a little more town-wide that maybe I was unaware of than just a Dove Ranch problem.
Yeah, that was, I
So-
guess that's, yeah, on the
It-
agenda, it said Dove Ranch, and that's why I
Right.
was assuming
And the
we were
thing
just talking
is,
about
if
Dove
we're
Ranch.
gonna be talking about putting a mill levy question before the voters, I don't wanna be putting a mill levy question before a specific set of voters just for Dove Ranch, for example. I mean, this needs to be something that's community-wide, because it is a community-wide problem. And I mean, this could be something where sidewalks and things like that could be part of the overall discussion, because curbs and gutters and sidewalks are all part of that infrastructure which directs that storm water to the appropriate spot. So somehow or another, within all of this, we may be able to find other sources of money to help besides money that's specifically designed to go for stormwater retention or detention. But we absolutely must do this. I mean, it's something that,
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for years. And it was on the priority list of, the board, so
I just, honestly, I don't think a special improvement district will work. I don't think it will pass. I think that Dove Ranch would vote it down immensely. I think the town of Bayfield would also vote it down immensely. I mean, I was on the board of the initiative for a 1-cent sales tax increase, worked on it for 3 years. Like, people don't like increases in this town to their bills, to anything, especially when it's, we have a problem in the town that we haven't fixed in a really long time, and now we need to raise your bills in order to pay for it. We've already done a lot of that this year, unfortunately, within our own purview, and so I say taking it to a vote is a no-go from me, because, I mean, we've discussed this numerous times in the 7 years that I've been on this board, and we've always said, it's the town's fault for allowing it to happen, and we need to foot the bill, is what the opinion has always been. So, that's my
well,
opinion
and
on
see,
it.
and I disagree.
Yep.
I feel that everybody in the community should pony up if they own property here and pay up. I mean, this isn't a zero-sum game.
I just see that-
Everybody has to pay up when we have issues. Those of us who own commercial property pay a lot more, a lot more.
I mean, I don't know, what is our next step to put the wheels in motion on this? Is this something we need to,
Part of the
Go.
issue is you have all these people who purchased homes in this area who it was not disclosed that there was an issue.
Nope.
So when you don't disclose that there was an issue, then you are talking about potential lawsuits and things like that can happen, just in general. I mean, it's not that I'm disagreeing
Well-
with you, because I don't, but because I don't have a problem with paying a little extra to make the weeds in the water to go where it needs to go and the weeds to be cleaned up. But for the majority, you're gonna find that they purchased those homes, they did not want a HOA, they did, and I don't really want a HOA, but a special improvement district I'd be okay with. It's a little different. Cause it's governed more by the town than it is by individual people making decisions. But, I purchased my property there, and I was not disclosed that there was a water problem. So now I have to pay for this water problem that I had no idea I bought a house in. That's not a good place for most of those homeowners to be in, and you run the risk of them banding together and suing.
And I mean, it's not even that I don't stand behind it. I'm just telling you it's going to get voted down.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that one, yeah.
That's how I feel about it, is that the sales tax got voted down for years. It took a whole lot of work to even get people kind of on board with it. We were lucky, so lucky that it passed. And bringing this up just after raising bills, they're going to vote this down.
But they enjoy the town's services though, right? You know?
Stormwater will end up getting the town sued. I guarantee it.
So what if they aren't part of the town anymore? Devil's advocate, what if they just are unannexed? We don't want their issues anymore.
Because once you're in the corporate
well, I
limits,
mean,
you
we-
just
the
can't
county wouldn't want
dissolve
them either.
yourself out. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of any community that has ever willingly let ground up go someplace else. Unless it was Adams County giving it up for Denver so they could have an airport.
I mean, what do you suggest, Katie? Is this like a work session? Is this an executive session?
That's
what
not
do
an
we-
executive session. It would be a work session. I'm just throwing this out for something for you to think about. I mean, this is $1 million for stormwater detention that all of the taxpayers pay for, not just those in Dove Ranch. And, you know, yes, there could be grant money that comes towards it, but there can be grant money that goes towards the special improvement district as well. They also have that same authority to request that. So those are just, there's things that, you know, I kind of gave you an idea what it looked like if it was a property tax. I just, you know, if you paid it over 10 years, if you paid it over 20 years, what the, you know, amount would be.
It's not a lot, you know, it's not a lot, especially if you're looking at that 20-year payment situation for,
So those are, and the thing is that granted, if we just, you know, wrote out a ballot language today, you know, absolutely not. But if you know what it's gonna cost you and it's gonna keep you from, you know, taking that stormwater and dumping it into the ditch and the Schroeder ditch comes back and said, we've had enough. We have to get your water out of our ditch. You know, they're going to be looking for who's responsible, so they'll come back, you know, and come back to the town. We're the biggest party in this whole thing. So.
I think that's where we came to that agreement or
Yep.
discussion a long time ago, that regardless, we have to do something.
Regardless,
So,
we have to do something.
You know, I mean, what would, doing an improvement district, trying to get that, you know, approved, what's the cost associated with, you know, trying to put that on a ballot and stuff?
I'm not aware of your, most of it's going to be the election, our part of a November election, the coordinated election. I would suggest not having, I'll suggest this next year, recommend that we start coordinating our elections with La Plata County, so that there's mail ballots, that everybody gets to vote. I think the same thing with elected officials. I think that, you know, we had 100 people.
I agree.
So, you know, that's going to be the cost that you're going to incur. The town cannot advertise for or against. Once your ballot is, you have a resolution or ordinance and you send it to the county clerk and recorder, you can't stand one way or the other. You can get information out, but that would be it. You know, obviously the bigger property owners that have larger lots are going to be maybe against it. Those have smaller lots probably could be the most affected, because they're the ones that could be flooded out. They have nowhere for the water to go. You know, those are all things that you could consider if you do decide to go to a town-wide vote. You know, property tax is hard. It's the hardest on your commercial businesses. However, they've probably got the most pavement and the most parking lots. I mean, that's also something that you think about when they're doing it on the valuation. So I think it's a conversation that you need to have. I'm not saying that you're going to make a decision one way or the other which direction to go, but I think you've heard each other. I I think that there is a certain point where you have to decide that you're gonna do a coordinated election. I don't think you've had a whole lot of those.
Just a couple.
Okay. So you'd have to just make sure you fit in all the schedule. I believe you have to let the county clerk and recorder know by July. You have to have a ballot adopted probably in the end of July, 1st of August. And of course, it goes to the voters the first Tuesday in November. And I can't, it's because it's Tabor, it would either be 2021 or 2022.
I can't see what it would hurt to put the vote out there. I mean,
Say again,
I can't see what it would hurt to put the vote out there.
this year,
Yeah?
mistake. I
Yeah.
think that's a
I
mistake.
think we need a lot of education. I think we need to be able to allow the public to come in and hear us out first before we pitch it to them.
Yeah,
I think
I'm a-
trying to raise
I'm a-
anything on a November ballot this year is a no-go.
yeah, I'm a big fan of informed consent and reaching out and making sure that everybody knows
Sorry, I
what's
just thought
going
there was
on.
enough
Because,
time
and
between June and November.
if you rush it, I mean, this would be a real rushed job because
Gotcha.
we would
I
be
agree.
starting from square one right now.
So we're talking November of 22?
2022.
And
I
it
would
gives
say
you
that that would
time
be-
to get that message out. I mean,
Right.
you don't, you're just educating the public, letting them know what this is costing, it could be costing them in their insurance, they're not even aware of. It's amazing how many times in some of the communities I've worked on that the banks or insurance people will tell me what their customers are paying because the town or the county has not done this, and that. And so those are all things that, you have to know more about. Obviously, you can get flood insurance, that's important, but there's also, the loss of things in your home that you can't replace with another carpet or.
So we would talk November of 2022, that's so far
But to
away.
get it on
That's
so we've got about a
Yeah.
year to get it
Yeah.
on a ballot.
You got about a year to do some education.
And see what we
Um,
really need.
I'm hearing that you prefer not to go the Dove Ranch Special Improvement District, but instead maybe just educate for, 9 to 10 months, and then decide kind of where you're at.
Yeah,
I can't
I
see,
think-
I
do
can't
need-
see the harm in going with the improvement district, is what I was saying, not necessarily the time frame. Because if they vote it down, we're still responsible and we're gonna have to do something
One way or the
about it.
other.
Exactly. So at least we give it a good shot to try to get funding from
Sure.
our,
Yeah,
Well, if the
just be your cost of
neighborhood-
election
If the
and work.
neighborhood is working together to form a special improvement district, that might be one of those things that actually works to actually get the proposal passed, as opposed to not, because the arguments for can very, very succinctly be delineated.
Well, and I think we have a pretty gnarly meeting schedule the next few meetings, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
And it's a matter of giving me direction, basically to put some materials together, very
Yeah.
specific to Bayfield. And that's when I start reaching out to your insurance companies and your banks and your businesses that, and property owners that may have had damage. It doesn't necessarily need to damage your house. It can damage other things in your yard as well, so.
Yeah, I'd like to
how
maybe
much
get
is
through
flood insurance every
some
month?
of our rounds of our housing discussion and maybe kind of put this towards,
And what it means for the Clean Water Act from your irrigation companies.
so we will
Definitely.
revisit this sooner than
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And the reason this kind of triggered something is that the Southern Utes are basically looking at water quality for not only for a discharge of our sewer plant, but what would that do if they decide that the irrigation system that ends up at the Southern Ute is not acceptable? Do we have not just the ditch companies, but the Southern Utes or
All
other
suing us.
nations that decide that we've got to do something to clean up our water?
Yeah,
Jeremy,
it's-
you're nodding
it's-
back there. Do you have
It's happened
anything
before.
It's
very
It
serious.
exactly happened before.
Well, I know this is something I need to be educated more on, because
Yeah, it's a big decision, and it's
is.
not gonna be
I
favorable
mean,
to,
it's, yeah, and then educating everybody in the community is
Yeah.
going,
Yes,
this is gonna be a
absolutely.
heavy lift, but I think it's something that we need to address. You know, this isn't frivolous. This isn't just, the government's growing.
right. Well, we'll move on to our next, another big topic here, the broadband, discussion. Another not so easy thing
That's
to
why we
figure
have these
out.
discussions. So the school district funds, they expire January 31st of 2022. And we are kind of at a point whether we apply for broadband funds to do middle mile. The DOLA, the state, has budgeted $5 million for broadband funding for local governments in their fiscal year ends at the end of this month.
And that's statewide,
Yes.
5 million?
Yes.
Okay.
And at their fiscal year starting July 1st, it goes to $2.5 million. From what I understand, that if we applied for $600,000 and we match it with $600,000, we could have a good shot at it, at the full amount. However, Clear Networks are Deeply Digital. They're going to bring a proposal that's clearly outlines the exact amount they need for the middle mile. Keep in mind, that's open access. So, you know, private companies don't want to build stuff and then have access for the other fiber companies in our area. But I also do not want to see the school district lose their
Yeah.
funds as well. This could be something that could be done together. I always say, you know, the more projects that you throw in one application, the better. So the school district, the funding agency for the school district came back to the school and said, you need more money. So we sent a proposal back to them. The school district said, yes, ask for 500,000 instead of the 300,000. So we have not heard, and from what I understand, it's a really quick turnaround to know if they've gotten that or not. But we do know what they do have. So currently, right now, we have $200,000. I think we had that ring concept for broadband.
Right.
We're going to do, you know, like a little pieces of the rings at a time. I'm looking for your direction if I bring a resolution to increase the capital improvement budget for broadband from $200,000 to $600,000. That would be additional $400,000. Your budget basically has that additional $400,000 in it. But I'm asking for your discussion tonight. The decision would be if a resolution comes next month with a better nail down. It's got to be $600,000 or less. It can't be anything more than that.
So where is that $400,000 in the budget?
It's not in the budget. It
No, I
was.
mean, where would you
It would
pull
be in
from?
a capital improvement, exactly where the $200,000 is right now.
And how much is
There
in
were
that?
reserves. There were reserves left in the capital improvement budget, basically unexpended, that were going to be carried over to the next year.
And how much were those reserves? How much is that we didn't?
It was just under four. It was like $397,000.
Just enough to spend
Yeah.
it on.
Yeah, I mean, we can't let them lose that money. I also think, from what I'm hearing as well, DOLA, things have loosened up and grants are being awarded, and there's a good possibility from, you know, everything was pretty tight there for a little bit, so I feel like we need to go after.
Now, the American
Yeah,
Rescue
and we-
Plan has money that is this would be eligible funding. However, we may not have the time, the leisure, to wait,
Yeah.
till we have that confirmed.
What pot of money is that from Dole? That's not the
ARP.
EIA, is it?
Yes,
It is EIA?
yes.
Oh, okay.
It's it's specific to broadband, but it is part of the EIAF.
So do you have to go through that whole EIA process in
Well,
order to
actually,
access it?
broadband is a lot simpler.
Okay.
You can submit the application at any time. There's no cycle.
Oh.
It goes through a small committee. It does not go through the interview process you may recall years ago.
Yeah.
Broadband has a quicker step. So the one thing about it is that you would be constructing from probably about October all the way to the end of January. So you'd have some winter construction going on in town. That was the question asked: do we allow construction during the winter time? You know, I told the consultant, I said, well, that really depends on how bad we want a middle mile.
That'd be
I mean,
hard to
once
do in the
again,
winter.
it's another thing we've been talking about forever,
Right.
and it needs to get done. We ranked it very high up there on our priority list.
It's
Right up
high
there.
on my
And
priority
actually,
list.
when you think about in terms of infrastructure that's really needed going forward, nothing is more important than this.
Agreed.
There's also
And-
questions about whether the town owns it. You have the the IRUs.
Yeah,
Be great if the town owns it, but you know,
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily, the key thing is to have a working system.
That's correct.
Is it typical to not have any reserves in your capital improvement funds?
Is it typical?
Not to have any reserves there? Because we're talking about
Draining
spending
it.
all the reserves in our capital improvement, which,
You're not spending all of it. Part of it is restricted
Okay.
This
for
is the
other
unrestricted.
things like Tabor. You have 3% of
that's
your
what I was.
expenditures are in
Okay,
there.
so
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, that makes
Yeah,
more
we-
sense. of
It's,
why we
it's
spend it.
unrestricted, not
Okay.
necessarily restricted.
I think at some point in time, I'd like to have a discussion, not this evening, about, you know, we're undertaking the Cinnamon Heights, and we're undertaking this, and these are things that we need, and we've been talking about for a long time. I just want to make sure that financially, fiscally, we're okay, because it is, I mean, these are some huge projects in my mind.
right.
That's
No,
why I keep asking these questions.
Yeah, well, and thank you for that. It's, I just want to, you know.
Oh, I agree with you
settle my
100%. I
hash.
would like to see it in a bigger picture frame
Right,
than what we're seeing at the meetings.
I agree.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't see a problem if it's unallocated and we still have reserves, you know, to do something like this. I kind of need to see the numbers in front of my face.
Right, and I haven't seen those, and that's
For-
what
yeah, for both.
and I might even understand them if I saw them.
Maybe.
So you're looking for support of a resolution at the next board meeting to?
And what would you like me to bring? I mean, I'm more than happy to, you know, side by side, here's what you have. I don't want to make any commitments about the ARP funding because
Right, we don't know.
there's still some things that have not been settled. I get constant emails about guess and beware
Yes.
on that. Yes, you do have Cinnamon Heights, the lots 12 through 41. That is another large decision of what you're going to do. You're still going to be working on that time frame. What your strategy is going to be for that for quite a few months, or a year at least. So I'll be more than happy to bring those side by side so you can see that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I know this sounds maybe way, way too far out, but when we get this fiber, is it affordable to our people? Like, it's a cable bill, right?
mean,
You go through a
yeah.
provider and
Depending on how many, I mean, on their proposal.
Yeah, they gave you a
It's-
proposal.
I
Six-
can't
base-
read these. I'm
baseline is
looking at
$60
it.
a month.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that what it
cheap.
is?
And then, you know, if you
less
want to get the 1 gig, it's 110 a month.
Oh, there it is, okay.
Yeah.
Inexpensive.
That's a much better way to describe
And I mean, it's pretty, as a business owner, I mean, I'm paying that's right in line what I'm paying for commercial.
And Okay, because I know nothing about this. When under residential, you would get a choice of 200 or 500 or,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
depending
pretty
on your
common.
needs.
or GIG,
I mean, what,
Gigs.
Gig,
what's everybody paying?
excuse me,
gigabyte,
or AKA
For-
gigs.
gigabyte.
What are you paying
Now
right now
I'm
with
hip.
Zito?
I'm hip to that.
Okay, so you're in
And
the
I get way less service.
Okay,
Way better or this would be way better connectivity.
okay.
And it would be like, you would have it always. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's the thing is
have it
I'm like,
always.
I'm like looking, I'm like $60, sure, I could do that, but I pay 35 for CenturyLink right now for intermittent crap. But,
Yeah,
you know, I'd be happy to pay, you know, double that amount for something
For
that would actually work.
consistent.
And
Didn't see
when it
that on
says
my- on my-
200, you actually get 200 and not 12, like what I get from CenturyLink.
Right.
Since we
Yeah.
actually have the
So-
fiber in
That's
the
it.
ground, it's, you get the speed that they actually propose that you'll get rather
Just
than.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so we'll revisit this. This will be at our next meeting. We'll have,
Okay.
It's a resolution. I put the figures side by side. Keep in mind that you have adopted 2 previous budget resolutions. Kathy's been working very hard to get those numbers to you. We still have I have some concerns over the financial statements and some reporting, but we'll put something together that really shows you those actual figures.
okay, thank you. Good discussion. All right, moving on to our water station drought surcharge. Do we,
Another
Want-
discussion
wanna
about
go
last year we raised it from 1 penny a gallon to 2 cents a gallon. I talked to the staff. I said, "Have you had any complaints?" And they said one complained, and she said, "I'm going to Mancus to get my water." I said,
she
"Okay."
showed us with all that gas money she
So-
said.
So I'm not a proponent of just raising it to raise it. However, we are in a drought. We raised it to 2 cents because really you weren't even covering the capital improvement costs, not the cost of operating, even to run the water station. Now at least you're covering those costs and administrative costs to actually run the water station, which you didn't have before. This is just a 0.2 of a cent surcharge for drought. You're not making a decision, it's just discussion. If you prefer not to do a drought surcharge until you've adopted the drought plan, that's also acceptable. You're gonna have a public hearing on the drought plan in 2 weeks. And so it's a discussion I wanted to have because we are and I keep seeing, like I said, the dark red to red. We keep, Bayfield gets in and out.
I like the idea of waiting for the drought plan so that there's a public input and
I agree.
it can
Same
be
here.
discussed at that time where it's just a little more open. I mean, I don't see a problem with it. It is what it is. We're in drought land. I
It's
mean,
only for
yeah.
a small period of time, just,
yeah.
it's not
not
like
meant
we're
forever.
forever.
Yeah. Our price is extremely low at this water station anyways, too,
Yeah,
so.
still.
There's still a line out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually I was in Durango, and there was a line at the one at Florida Creek area, and there was one, when drove that direction, there was actually a line there too, so,
And their costs are still higher than ours, I'm sure.
I think that if you actually live in the district,
Yeah, if you live within the district, you get a certain amount of water free, and then
Yeah.
after your certain amount is reached, then you pay a fee.
right.
I'm sorry, where is that? That they do?
All of our county people that haul water to their wells, and they use the water station like at 223 or.
At La Plata.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
That's only fair.
So,
Okay,
Okay.
that you'll have a public hearing for the drought plan. We won't even consider a surcharge until July, and by that time, we're gonna know
okay.
really clearly where we're at in this drought monitor. Every Thursday, we get a new map.
Okay.
Fine.
All right, moving on to board reports. Does anybody have anything to update? Planning Commission, we are still looking for
Two.
Two members?
Yes, bug your neighbors once
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
I see lots of names on this Dove Ranch list. Talk
See,
to
I-
the neighbors,
now.
they might get interested in some of our planning.
I see two interested citizens out here. Maybe we can see-
They're like, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, minor detail.
Just ask for annexation, geez, what do you want?
All right, happy birthday, Beth. It's your birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy Pride Month to our community, and if there's no more discussion, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:36.
Yeah.
All right.